Why do we need to be conscious of the words we choose to use? Language, and the words that we choose to use, especially when interacting with our young children, can play a big role in not only how we and others perceive the world, but also how we can unwittingly influence the young minds we interact with. I had an interesting conversation during the week in relation to last week's email, where I mentioned the fact that I honestly hadn't thought through the implications of only providing emails in a printed text format to the members of this diverse community. The wise person I was discussing this with pointed out that I had, and she also kindly added, probably unconsciously, fallen into the trap of stereotypical thinking, which was, all members of the Musicbuds community can access information in the same way and through the same format. I hadn't thought of it like that before. Stereotypical thinking is where we hold a fixed, oversimplified and often biased belief about a group of people. Because it is such a generalised way of thinking, there's a danger that it can lead to us not being able to see beyond that group description. And this is when it might become a harmful way of viewing the world and the different people within it, particularly so for young children who are just developing their own perceptions of everything around them. This is why, when interacting with our youngsters, we need to be conscious of the power contained in the words we use. Every word shapes the cognitive landscape of our developing children, and a collection of words grouped together can carry a weight of correct, incorrect, ambiguous or specific meaning. To use a really simple example, just think about the phrase, apples are red. To a young child hearing this statement and without any experience of apples themselves, will come to assume that all apples are red. Whereas, if the phrase was reframed, some apples are red, a deeper meaning is associated with apples, one in which some apples may be different in colour. This has the effect of opening up the children's thinking to the possibility that there may be exceptions to the apples are red rule. But why is this so important? Because if we don't recognise and understand the implicit bias that is present in our everyday language and behaviours, we may not be fully aware of the ways in which we are influencing our young children's thought processes and contributing to feelings of inclusion and exclusion. A very obvious example of this in the world of young children, which is thankfully being addressed diligently in many fields now, is that of gender stereotyping. Dolls are for girls and trucks are for boys. Really? How inclusive or exclusive is a statement such as that? The Nobel Prize-winning psychologist Daniel Kahneman describes this type of stereotypical thinking as coming from the brain's automatic quick response mode. He calls it fast thinking, whereas a more considered use of language, such as the one above, some apples are red, generates a more thoughtful response, the slow thinking mode. Of course, there are occasions where we have to think quickly, but going back to my written email example, that shouldn't have been one of them. I obviously need to engage more consciously in some further slow thinking. If you're interested in reading more about this, you could head over to the blog page on our website, where our post called Understanding Racism Through Language and Communication in Early Childhood explores this subject in more detail. and you'll find a link below this video. I'm going to be more conscious of my fast and slow thinking modes during this coming week in relation to the words I use towards my young learners. Wishing you a thoughtful week ahead too, and thank you for watching.